Going to the sea, huh?
Yeah.
You know what they call owls who fly towards the sea?
No.
Lost.
Hello and welcome to It's Always Sunny in Gahul. We are the legendary guardians of the owls. My name is Patty, and these other legends are...
I'm a Lugia, and you've never seen a battle before. You never got a scar like I did.
And I'm Red.
Yes, we're taking a trip to Gahul today. But before we get into that, let us pay our respects to legendary voice actor Tom Kane, because he passed away a few days ago from complications of a stroke. Even though the name may not sound too familiar, you've definitely heard this guy's voice in shows like the Powerpuff Girls, Fosters, several of the animated Star Wars stuff. I personally, though, one of the first things I always think of is he was the voice of the Disney Fast Play options.
I'm just a pretty talented guy. His filmography is like honestly so vast. It's kind of crazy. Probably Professor Utonium was like the performance I think of first. I know he was in Star Wars: The Clone Wars as a bunch of like established characters. You know Yoda, Akbar, Boba Fett,
Yeah.
Qui-Gon Jinn, C-3PO. So yeah,
Definitely,
those are all the ones
definitely,
that stood out to me. Oh, also
Yeah,
Mr. Harriman from Foster's.
definitely a big talent. Actually, before we directly get into the movie, I have just a quick little fun question to ask you guys. I've seen this brought up like a few times on other podcasts. I just think it's a silly question, and it kind of relates to the movie. How many owls would you have to see in a single day before you knew something was wrong?
What do you
Two.
mean by that?
You're going about your day, you see an owl. Like, how many points in a day would you have to see an owl until you're like, okay, something's not right?
3.
I'll say two, but it depends. Like, am I seeing them like one after another, or am I seeing them like
No, just sporadically throughout your day.
Yeah, then two.
I would say
Two or
3.
three.
I would chalk up 2 as a coincidence.
I'd say like
'Cause
4 or 5.
if it was one, I'd be like, oh, cool, an owl's here. If I see two, if it's in like a similar area, I'm just gonna like, I guess this area has a lot of owls. But if I'm in a completely different place, I see 2 owls, I'm like, that's a weird coincidence, and I'd probably like start googling stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, like 1 owl, that's neat. 2 owls, all right, cool. I saw 2 owls in one day. 3, I'd be like, this is a little strange, but I'll still bite. 3 or 4, I'm getting to like, this is suspiciously weird. 6, I'm calling somebody.
If I saw 2, I would tweet it. I'm like, yo, I saw 2 owls. That's crazy. Then someone would reply to me, that means that you've been marked. Death. I'm like, what the fuck?
Wait, what was your answer, Lugia?
I said 3.
3. Why 3?
I don't know. I tend to follow the rule of 2 is a coincidence, but 3 is a pattern.
I don't know.
Whatever,
Do owls
it's-
find packs? Are they like solo
I don't
animals?
think so. I've never, at most, I've seen like 2 owls at a time. I've never seen like more than that. I don't know, just a fun question, and it related to the movie. So
Owls
I
are
thought I'd ask.
solitary.
Anyway, yeah, let's actually get into the owl movie of the day. So, Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Gahul, is based on the first 3 books in the Guardians of Gahul series by Kathryn Lasky. I've never read any of these books. I'm assuming you guys haven't either.
No.
No, but I've talked to people who have, and apparently it's very violent, very epic. It's a big criticism of like like eugenics and fascism and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I've never read any of them either. I don't think I even heard of it until the movie came out, but I don't have my ear to the ground when it comes to fantasy series. But anyway, this movie was directed by Zack Snyder, most known for his superhero films like Watchmen, Man of Steel, Justice League. Gonna be real, this is the only Zack Snyder movie I've seen.
Really? You haven't seen Watchmen?
you haven't seen 300?
Nope. I only know the memes.
Not even Dawn of the Dead?
Nothing against the guy, it's just his movies never really caught my attention. But I understand this is like the black sheep of his filmography. It's the only animated film he's ever done.
Yeah. For the most part, when people talk about Zack Snyder movies, this movie is completely ignored. It's usually 300 is usually like widely considered his best movie, so that's probably the one that's talked about the most. And then it says superhero movies after. But honestly, like after watching this movie, I don't think like it's that like off for his filmography, because like this is a very mythic story, and that's kind of like the space he likes to operate in.
So I don't really have much in terms of the background of this film. The only real fun fact that I was able to scrounge up is that Hugh Jackman was originally going to voice a character, but he was replaced with Sam Neill for unknown reasons. The film released in September 2010, where it received mixed reviews, and against a budget of 140 million, it made... Why did I not write how much it made back? I don't know, but memory serves, it made less than its budget. Not really a financial hit in any stretch, and I'm assuming because of that, no sequel was ever made, despite Zack Snyder and some of the cast saying that they would be open to a sequel. In 15 years, literally nothing since the movie released. I doubt anything will come of it. Maybe it'll be rebooted into like a streaming series or something if there's demand, but I don't know. Something tells me this is kind of a one and done deal for the Guardians.
Apparently this is the animation production team that did Happy Feet.
Yeah.
So
I
Animal
was
Logic.
thinking Happy Feet when I saw this. It's been a while since I saw Happy Feet, but given the realistic proportions of the characters, since they're owls, it doesn't go for like a different art style. It just tries to be as realistic as possible, which is what Happy Feet also did.
All right, so what exactly is the Guardians of Ga'Hoole all about? Well, to keep this brief, it's about two owl brothers named Soren and Clud, and both of them get kidnapped by a group known as the Pure Ones, and their whole thing is that they want to take over all the owl kingdoms. Clud manages to get pulled into the dark side, but Soren manages to escape their captivity, and not knowing what else to do, he decides to seek help from the legendary Guardian Owls of Ga'Hoole, despite only having heard of them in legend from his father. But lo and behold, they do exist, and they decide to train Soren and his new friends to be brave warriors to save the day. And thus, we have the most epic owl movie ever made. It was just fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I don't really have much to say about this one.
I think this movie is interesting when you look at it in the context of his filmography. But as its own movie, like it's perfectly fine. I'm sure I would have thought it was cool as a kid, but I honestly, even as a kid, I feel like I would have like watched this movie and then forgot about it. I've been like, that was fun, and then I forget about it in like a few months. And then
I saw this movie when it first came out. I only remembered two things from it. The one thing I remembered the most was Clud's whole arc. I remember him turning over to the dark side and going against his brother. Other than that, the only thing I remembered was the one scene where the owls are flying in the snowstorm and the one owl Digger freezes and falls. Thing is, I only remembered that half of the scene. I legit thought he died and was just out for the rest of the movie, but no, he gets saved. I was like, oh,
this movie doesn't have any characters that just like stand out to me. I think like that's the big issue. It doesn't really have any characters, and it's a pretty generic like story otherwise. So
yeah,
like
it
it's
feels
not
like
the
a
kind of
very,
thing.
it's kind of like a basic adventure thing. It's a similar problem to Black Cauldron. This is better, at least in terms of the fact that like there's more world building and it feels a bit more unique. But I think most of that has to do with the fact that they are owls. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard average fantasy film.
Yeah, my yeah, it's really just like a character thing. Because like when I'm trying to think of like other movies, like I can compare this to, like I watch A Bug's Life. It's just like Seven Samurai, but like with bugs. But like it still sticks out to you because even though like it's a story I've seen a million times before, all the characters have like personality to them. I just think these characters are too boring for it to like really like be anything more than just like something you watch and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty good, and then you leave. Like 'cause that's the thing. Like I don't think any of us are gonna like say this movie's bad and we're gonna say it's like a you shouldn't watch it. Like if you got kids or something, you'd be perfectly fine just put this on. And this I think it might have a better impact on kids because it is so like weird and like weird looking and dark and like kind of a
I
you know
guess, but again,
it's original in a way. So
I saw this as a kid and I remembered very little. I don't know,
what year
again,
did this
it's
come
not
out?
bad. It's just nothing about it really stands out.
Yeah, what year did this come out again?
2010.
Of the movies of like from this time period of like the weird dark alt anime movies from this time period, 9 stood out like way more in my memory. I also don't remember like the much about that movie, but like it has just like a really striking visuals that really get stuck in your head. I did say earlier I do think it's interesting like in the context of Zack Snyder's filmography, and the best analog I can give you to like maybe explain to you guys is like how many Wes Anderson movies have you guys seen?
I'd have to
2.
look.
That's unfortunate. But basically like Wes Anderson was kind of like he always had like a quirky style, but he was like a little bit more normal before Fantastic Mr. Fox. And then once Fantastic Mr. Fox came out, because it was animated, he kind of had like the freedom to kind of just go as far as he wanted. And since then, that definitely like impacted his later films. I would definitely say that was like something similar with Owls of Ga'Hoole with Zack Snyder, where like I feel like this really made him like it's almost been like a Rosetta Stone for his like filmography. In like many ways, I feel like you watch this and then you watch another Zack Snyder film, and you're just like something about it, like how he just like works as a filmmaker, like thinks, clicks. Now, stylistically, it definitely feels like he's trying to like push it as far as he can. I believe, from what I looked up in the behind the scenes, they very much like looked at real cameras and try to like see how push like the realistic capabilities of it as far as they could.
I was gonna say I can say like the visuals are easily the best part of the movie. Like this movie looks amazing.
It's like a weird thing where it's like it's more competent than a lot of like Zack Snyder's like other movies, but it just kind of misses the thing that actually like makes me get why people are so drawn to them. You know, for all the flaws of like his superhero movies, like the characters are all kind of flat, but like there is like much more of like a thrust to the story arcs and whatnot. I don't know. I'm gonna say 300 is like it's the best movie, and it's also the movie I think that's most analogous to this, where like it's this very simple, like kind of like epic fantasy story. The thing is that like Leonidas is just a much more memorable character. For all like the how very archetypical it is, like there's just like a flavor to how it is that makes it like, you know, stick out in your memory. And honestly, the speed ramping thing is they do in the fight scenes is like to this day that's still pretty unique.
Like having a
So
basic story, like that's fine, but like when the characters don't really elevate much of it, there's not really much to remember, and that's what I feel here.
yeah, like this is like a great tech demo,
Mhm.
but as a film, it's just like you can just watch 300, Lord of the Rings. Like there's a lot of 2000s like fantasy movies from this time I would just like recommend over it that have like a similar sort of like epic feel and interesting sort of direction, but like, you know, they just got more character to it.
And again, as I
Um,
said, the visuals in this movie are fantastic. Like you could see the individual feathers on each owl. And like the scene where he's flying through the rain and we get that slow motion of the individual drops. That looks incredible.
Personally, I think the owl designs are a little uncanny. This is also something I noticed with Happy Feet, but I think the environmental design more than makes up for it, especially when they utilize water and or fire in certain scenes. Like it can look really stunning at times.
Also, I think the movie is also like because like the characters are so like very stoic and whatnot, and like I don't think the movie's like weird enough to like leave an impression. Because like you'd be like, oh, whoa, owls, like the premise alone makes people think this is gonna be like a really weird movie, and then you watch it, and it's like it's not that weird, honestly. Like it's kind of like outside of like the creatures, like you're just kind of like okay, like you know, it feels like you're watching like you know Dark Crystal or just any other like generic fantasy thing without much personality. And it's like I don't know, like I compare it to Happy Feet, and like I would not actually say Happy Feet has that great of a story or themes, but like it's just so odd, it sticks with you. I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid, and I still remember that fat fucking penguin with the bottle, like plastic bottle thing stuck around his head, and everyone's like worshiping him like a god. That's gonna stick in your memory, you know. I'm gonna remember honestly the whole premise was like it's almost like Footloose, but taken to like a weird extreme. Like I don't know.
They think that his dancing is causing a drought because there's no fish.
Like yo,
So
boogie
he
woogie
goes
is
to see the real life humans, like not even animated, the real humans.
yeah. Even like the
It's
sequel, I
weird.
remember like a bunch of stuff because
I
like
remember
you know
seeing Happy Feet as a kid, and when the movie was done, my mom said that was not what I thought it was going to be.
yeah the whole movie is like this weird like commentary on religion. Yeah, it's like one of the most anti-religious movies I've ever seen, which is kind of crazy. It's like I don't know when you think of like Owls of Gahul, it's just like it's just kind of like a generic kind of like libertarian fantasy movie. It's a little Randian. Like okay, cool.
Yeah, you've seen this before. Like I
Yeah,
like
very
as I was watching it, the movie that came to my head the most was Transformers 1.
yes. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah,
I
because
can kind of see it, yeah.
Similar arc,
yeah.
similar, anti-authoritarianism, one of the characters turning over to the dark side.
It also
Okay, you know,
reminded
I
me
want
of
to
Revenge of the Sith, if we're gonna go that route. But
Yeah,
just
no,
replace
Revenge
Anakin and
you were my
Obi-Wan with
brother.
owls.
Literally, you were my brother.
okay, but the big difference between Legends of Guardians and Revenge of the Sith is I can't remember anything from Legends of the Guardians, but I genuinely think you could like walk up to some people in the street and ask them and they will be able to recite like half the quotes from Revenge of the Sith. People shit on George Lucas's dialogue, but you remember it, which is a lot better than I can say for a lot of other filmmakers. So like I feel like it's only a flaw because the acting is a little weird, but like if people are delivering it like how fucking like Brando delivered it in The Godfather, I feel like people like unironically just think like his movies are good. What I want to say is like I think this highlights like Zack Snyder's strengths as a filmmaker pretty well. I think he is incredibly good at conceptualizing action scenes. He is not a bad like visual filmmaker. It's just like how good his movies are is entirely dependent on the script and whether the script is compatible with them. Because I don't think Watchmen was a bad movie, but I don't think like it's very thematically compatible because Watchmen is very much trying to be like a stripped down sort of thing when Snyder style is very heightened and stylized, which is why I think he was perfect for Frank Miller because Frank Miller is a very heightened stylized thing. And like I think like the ultimate tragedy of a superhero thing is that he would have been a good director for The Dark Knight Returns, that comic. The thing is that he got hired to do regular Batman, and it's really weird trying to do a regular Batman thing and The Dark Knight Returns at the same time. Also, he combined it with like 3 other stories. Like Good lord, Batman v Superman is a really mess of a movie because it's about the origin of the Justice League. It's the death of Superman. It's the Doomsday arc, which I mean, to be fair, that is the death of Superman arc. So, but it's kind of like two things at
trying
once.
to be everything at once.
Yeah, like that's ultimately
That's what
the
it
flaw
sounds
with his
like.
like his Superman movies is like one, he doesn't really give Superman much of a personality. He has a problem with that like in general, where he's just very bad at like personality. But, like 300, very simple story. The whole thing is like these larger than life, like epic stuff and visuals. So like I know this like Legend of Guardians review is basically just me pitching 300 to like watch 300 is his best movie. But yeah, 300 is Zack Snyder's best movie. His cut of Justice League isn't bad either, but it's a shame that he's never really got to work with similar material. Honestly, the best movie for him to direct would probably be a King Arthur movie, but the problem is that that movie already exists. It's called Excalibur, and it's Zack Snyder's favorite movie. That's the reason he became a filmmaker. So like,
Really?
yeah, no, John Boorman's Excalibur is Snyder's favorite movie. He said it many times. It's Boorman's favorite filmmaker, and you watch Excalibur, and you're just like, oh my god, this is very obviously Zack Snyder's favorite movie. He even like lifts a bunch of scenes from it, like in general, and honestly, like he had a bunch of ideas for his DC Comics things that a lot of people like shit on. But like when I listened to him, I was just like, oh fuck, this is just Excalibur. This is like a King Arthur story. You watch Excalibur and you watch Legend of Guardians, you're like, oh yeah, there's definitely like parallels here, and like specifically like what interests him about like the mythic King Arthur story. But like the way Superman dies at the end of Batman v Superman is very similar to like the ending of Excalibur. The movie is going to continue after Justice League. He was going to have at one point Batman and Lois Lane have like an affair or something, and people are like, wow, that sounds really stupid because they're thinking from a comic adaptation standpoint. But Zack Snyder, he was thinking of like from a mythic standpoint, and Lancelot, I'm pretty sure, slept with King Arthur's wife, so I think that's like the whole arc they were trying to do there. He treats like the Justice League like a round table, so it's like yeah, so there's a lot of Snyder's an interesting filmmaker to talk about, but I only think he's only really like landed like 2.5 times. It's interesting talking about like a guy that you think is a good filmmaker, you just don't think he hasn't made good movies. I don't know if you guys want to have any more things to talk about.
I wish I had more things to talk about. I really do not have much to say on this film.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I would have more because
Have you guys ever like read the books?
No.
no. And according to my research, this is basically bits and pieces of the first 3 books
Yeah,
compiled into one. I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know what like the fans of the book think of this movie.
And it is also kind of a shame that this never did get any sequels, because it clearly does like end on like a cliffhanger where Clud is presumably alive, although the heroes don't know that. But at the same time,
cracks me up.
Yeah, I don't know why it's Clud.
Uh,
Claude would have been
It
better.
reminds of like the Claude from Disney's Elemental.
Actually, I have one other note. I know the answer to this question, but why is there a pop song playing over the training montage?
Because it was 2010. You just had to
I'm
do
pretty
that,
sure
especially
It
for
clashes
fantasy.
so hard with the epic orchestral score and the overall fantasy theme of the movie.
They play it again
So,
at the credits
I-
too.
I-
You hear
I
that
know.
song twice.
I have 2 comments about that. One, it's really funny how this movie is. It does not feel like a product of its time at all, except for that one part. But 2, do you know what band that is that made that song?
Yes, Owl City, because Owls of Gahul.
Yeah.
I bet you they only hired him for the sake of that joke. Like, I will bet good money on that. Like, it's not even that I don't like the song, it's just it does not match with the rest of the film. That's everything else. Again, this movie was just fine. It looks great, but it's pretty average.
It's harmless, but you're
Yeah.
not really going to get much out of it.
If you're curious, it wouldn't hurt. And again, if you have read the books, like, I'm genuinely curious what you think of this movie.
I guess we'll talk about next week. So next
Yeah.
week is our 200th episode.
Woohoo!
And so I've been thinking a lot about what to pick, and I've narrowed it down to 2 options. So I'm going to ask you guys. So here's the thing. One of them is a series of movies. Both of them are going to be like double features, by the way. One of them is a series of movies that I know all of us have seen, and it has had a great impact on our childhood and our interest in film in general. And somehow we've oddly like rarely talked about this studio. We've talked about them like maybe once or twice. We've talked about like the movies related to them, but we haven't actually like dipped into them at all for some reason. And the other one, it's a similar case to like One Cut of the Dead, where it's like it's about the specific thing isn't like maybe specific to us, but it's specifically about the art of filmmaking. That's from, you know, a director that we also haven't really talked about, but you know, all of us are familiar with. Yeah, that's the question. Do you want this to be about movies, or do you want us to be a bit more broader in scope?
So either personal to us or personal
Personal to
in the
us,
sense
or
of filmmaking.
yeah.
That's
I'm gonna say personal to us, just because the first episode and the 100th episode were both chosen for personal reasons. That's just me,
I'll
though.
go with that too.
All right. We have only talked about Pixar once on this show. Did you guys know that?
For Cars.
Okay, we've talked about Pixar twice on this show. Cars and Turning Red, and I feel that's very strange. The two we picked are honestly the ones that get memed on the most. And I can see Patty has already made the list 3, so I think he knows exactly where I'm going with this. The Toy Story trilogy.
All right.
3, just the first 3, not 4.
We can watch 4. I know we've all seen it.
I have not seen
genuinely
4. I've never seen 4.
Okay. Watch 4 then. Yeah, we'll do 4 also.
All right.
A quadrilogy, man.
That's gonna be a big one.
They're breezy watches. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, they're all like 90, like they're all very short films. And honestly, you could probably go off your memory if you really wanted to, but
I have been meaning to rewatch Toy Story.
I rewatched the first Toy Story not too long ago, but I haven't rewatched 2, 3, or 4. I have not seen 4 since it came out actually. And
I saw 4 once again when it came out on DVD, but I don't think I've seen it in full since.
I distinctly remember seeing 4 because once we walked out of the theater, we bumped into you.
Yeah, I remember we didn't even realize we were in the same screening.
Yeah, we're like, oh shoot, yeah. And then we talked about Stranger Things for a while for some reason because I think that came out at the same time, like season 3.
Yeah, season 3.
Um,
Right. So the Toy Story quadrilogy.
And then
As
there's
it
also
currently is.
5 coming out. So
Is that coming out this year?
Comes out next month, dude.
Oh, great. That's amazing.
But yeah.
Also, I also picked Toy Story because I think it's very interesting that like it's a movie very much about like aging. Like the whole series is just about anxieties of aging.
All right, is that all we have for build up?
I believe so.
Yep.
All right. For episode 200, we're going to be talking about the Toy Story quadrilogy. All right. But I want to end this. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Owls.
Owls who?
That is a correct statement. Comedy. That's all I got.